Hi, and welcome to Insights with Richard and John for this three-part series on gratitude. I'm joined by John Purcell from Portland, Oregon. John is a transformational mindset coach. Now, we're up to part two today of our three-part series on gratitude. John, would you like to just give us a recap on what part one was a bit involved?
You bet. Nice to see you again, Richard. And just as a recap, we talked about the benefit of gratitude and a gratitude practice, and that really it does shape the way you see the world. And that by employing gratitude practice on a daily basis, we can see possibilities that previously we couldn't. So we're opening the door to a new and possibly better self, better version of ourselves through gratitude practice.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So part two, which we're going to cover today, is practices and incorporating gratitude into your daily routine. Now, first, I want to ask you, John, how does gratitude become second nature? What I'm
It's yes.
all right. Actually,
I'm
what I
sorry.
just want to define what I mean by that is we can do something which is a part of a daily routine, but something that becomes second nature is when it becomes more a habit, something more unconscious, where you just start doing something or feeling something.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you think
It
gratitude becomes second nature?
it's encapsulated in that word practice. I mean, practice makes permanent. And if you want it to become a solid habit, then you take time out every day and uh, employ the things that we'll bring up later in this. The actual physical structure that occurs in your brain it starts to form after 26 days. And that will be a neural pathway that will facilitate it so that you no longer think about it, it just becomes second nature. So practice makes permanent.
That's right. And that's why we have it as a daily practice, something that was in our routine, we're doing regularly over and over.
Absolutely. And there's no point in beating yourself up if you miss a day.
No.
We're not, that could be so counterproductive if you think, oh man, if I don't do it today or I don't do it every single day, being harsh with yourself instead of being compassionate and understanding.
Yeah. Now I wanted to discuss the different ways and how we can express gratitude and practice it in terms of, you know, just expressing it or the difference between that and feeling it, trying to feel it. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that? Very good. Well, first of all, I don't think you have to feel gratitude to express it. In fact, I think that sometimes that might be the misunderstanding that I have to feel like I'm grateful in order to express something. So maybe I'm not feeling so grateful when I wake up in the morning, but I see something for which I am not feeling grateful, but for which I am grateful that I can say, uh, I'm grateful for this. And I think that the feelings follow the words. I think you create a reality by your verbal expressions or possibly your written expressions. So the basic point is you don't necessarily have to feel gratitude to express gratitude. But I would suggest that in expressing gratitude, that there will be an experience, a sensation, the somatic bodily experiences, as well as the construction of emotions in our minds that go associated with gratitude.
Yeah, that's put that really well. I think it's really important to just to understand that you don't have to be feeling gratitude to express it. And through that practice of expressing it more and more, that can actually start to generate the feeling for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're thinking about the extreme where somebody's in a state of resignation, where there's despair and depression, and to be able to express gratitude, you're not going to be feeling it. Absolutely not. But I would suggest, and I strongly encourage that by the act of gratitude that you can find yourself shifting moods.
Yeah, excellent. All right, now I'd like to touch on our own personal daily practices of gratitude. Would you like to go first?
Love to. When I was initially exposed to this, the idea was presented to write down 3 gratitudes and one challenge. And for a while, I was very good about that, but I let it drop off. I stopped doing it, and my gratitudes became very um, not as consistent. I'll put it that way. And when we began this conversation, I was thinking, well, I verbalize them or I imagine them in my head, but what's getting in the way of me writing them down? And just a few days ago, I found this journal where I took it out and there were blank pages, and I thought, well, what's going to take 5-10 seconds, maybe a whole 30 seconds to write down some gratitude. So my current practice is just to list, and I'm not specifying how many. I'm just writing as spontaneously as possible those things that occur to me as gratitudes, which can be as simple as being able to take a full breath, and as complicated as a positive relationship with those I care about.
That's lovely, John.
How about you?
Thank you. Yeah, my gratitude practice is part of a slightly bigger morning mantra, as I like to call it. And the gratitude part of that, it doesn't take me long. It's only, sometimes I do it when I wake up and I'm in the kitchen and I'll speak aloud. Or sometimes I might do it while I'm driving. If I've got to quickly leave the house and go somewhere. It usually happens within the first hour or 2 hours of my morning. And the gratitude part of it is I say aloud 3 different things I'm grateful for. And this can be people, things, just existing, anything. Sometimes it's to do with something that might have happened the day before, an interaction I might have had with a person. So I might be grateful for a particular person, and I'll say why I'm grateful for that. Or sometimes I'm grateful for clean water that I can drink. I'm grateful to live in a safe place, or I'm grateful to live in a house. Yeah, it'll be things like that. And I kind of just take a moment to say that what I'm grateful for. And then I try to feel it. I take a moment to feel it and think about why I'm grateful. I don't rush it. I just and pause. Yeah, and that kind of helps me center myself and get into that state of gratitude. Yeah, and usually it's relatively brief, but sometimes I might spend longer if I really, really need it, or really feeling something more.
And it's not overly complicated. It's pretty simple.
It is, yeah.
And that's a key.
Yeah.
To making it accessible to everyone.
Yeah. And with that, I want us to just briefly say or suggest to people these 2 simple practices that they can incorporate. And the first one is similar to what you and I do. Just listing. I'm suggesting that people list 3 gratitudes in the morning, whether they say it aloud, say it in their head to start with if they want, or writing it down. But saying it aloud or writing it down makes it more powerful. And just coming up with 3 things that you're grateful for, whether they can be tiny things. Yeah. And the second practice that we wanted to suggest, John, is that you've told me about, the 7 seconds of saying being thankful and saying goodbye to someone.
Yes, it came out of a discussion where somebody said the best, relationship advice was take 7 seconds to greet and 7 seconds to say goodbye. And then you and I were talking about, what about gratitudes during the day, where you take 7 seconds, which can go by in a heartbeat, to, instead of just saying a simple thanks or thank you, to expound on that and explain what it is that you're grateful for in usually the other person's life. So 7 seconds. And the advice would be, of course, don't count. Let's not be counting while we're thinking about it, but thinking about, thank you. What is it I'm grateful for in this moment in regard to your existence in my life?
Perfect. All right. So we're going to conclude there our part 2 of the gratitude series. And please join us next time for part 3, which will be the neurobiology and physiology of gratitude practices and how it can rewire your brain. So thank you very much, John, for joining me again.
Thank you, Richard.
That brings us to the end. I want to thank everyone for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it or check out my website www.huljich.life. Please join me for my next episode.